I'm Noah Willman. I'm a freelance photographer.
Steve Clodd, co-founder of 32 Auctions, which is a platform for hosting and managing silent auctions.
Kurt Peterson, the other co-founder of 32 Auctions.
Drew Corson, I'm an attorney at Knight & Shea, and I used to work for Katie First.
And also our sponsor of our coffee.
Drink your coffee.
I'm Monty Schmidt. I started a company called Sonic Foundry a long time ago. I do small entrepreneurial consulting, EC, angel
Dan Wilson. I also used to work with Kate at Breeze. Now I work with a software company in town called Montreal.
I'm Carl Rice. I started a company in 1998. Yes. Very long time ago. I'm not a startup. I'm called Project Solutions, and I do mostly project consulting. And I also do a lot of progressive policy consulting. And it's my dog, Millie. Millie lowers my blood pressure daily. I'm Caroline.
Organizer for the non-corporation. I also work at Catalyze, the health IT startup downtown. And thank you all for coming.
Nico Skiraski was one of the co-founders of 100 State, and now work on a software company called Redox.
I'm Rachel Neal, one of the organizers of 1 Million Cups Madison. I also work at Nordic Consulting.
I'm Megan O'Rear. I'm the organizer of 1 Million Cups, and I work for 1 Million State.
And I'm Leah Anderson. I'm the fourth of 4 organizers, and I work at Wallersheim Winery and Director.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad everyone got through introductions. I think it's going to be time to turn it over to you. I'll just give a brief introduction to 1 Million Cups for anybody that's new. 1 Million Cups takes place every Wednesday morning. We just moved from 100 State to the library, so we're really grateful for everybody that came out and supported us, and from our sponsors to the video recording to our presenters and our audience. This is a community-based event, so what you're going to do is hear Matt here talk about Grow Madison, his company, and then we're going to turn things over to the audience, and it's your chance to ask questions and provide feedback to Matt. And hopefully he'll be able to answer some of those and take some of your feedback into consideration. It's really important that the audience gets involved because I think that's where a lot of the value comes in. So again, thank you to our sponsors, thank you to our audience, and I'm going to turn things over to Matt.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys all coming. This is a really nice crowd. I feel a little bit out of my league with a lot of you co-founders and CEOs and such here, and people and companies that I've heard of. That's very cool. And thanks to the sponsors. That's great. And 1 Million Cups. A little background on me. I've been in marketing my entire adult life. I haven't had an actual W-2 job since I was like 19. Kind of as a teenager, I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I've had plenty of those ups and downs with that. Did a lot of direct selling in my 20s and did really well with that. And then 2008 kind of flopped. But doing that, I kind of got into a habit of every 6 months, new product. So works really well with freelancing. So I'm always kind of doing something new, never kind of on the same company or project. And I really enjoy that. So for about 6 or 7 years, I've been freelancing, mostly WordPress, search engine optimization. I'm kind of a one-man agency. I do kind of everything. I really kind of see myself as setting up, designing a marketing plan, building it, and then teaching people how to use it. From website to social to pay-per-click, kind of wherever they go with it. I always do a lot of education on the back end. And so for several years, I've been, kind of requiring that a lot of my clients do training and help desk as part of a project. So instead of just handing them a website and some social accounts, I actually require now that we take the time to actually work together, learn how to use it, become more effective. Which was a nice segue into Grow Madison, which is really basically primarily education-based. We want to help people learn, get better at doing whatever they're doing, whether it's working for a nonprofit, working for their own business, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of in all that freelancing, doing a lot of WordPress, my friend James Lloyd, who was the person who brought me into 100 State, it was actually about a year ago, he invited me down to, or actually threw just a general shout out to the 100 State community to see if anybody wanted to go down to Beloit College and do a WordPress boot camp for some students. And so, being a WordPress guy, I said, sure, let's do it. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. There's probably about 15 students, and we built several websites in a day on a Saturday, and it was just a really cool event. So, as soon as 100 State moved to our new space, and we now have a lot more space, and as soon as I saw that space, I was like, we got to do a boot camp here. There's plenty of room. We could fit a ton of people in the room and basically get in there and start working with people on how to work WordPress. So we did a couple of those events. They turned out really well. Had 15 to 20 people per event. We built a lot of websites in a 6-hour period with basically people with no experience, which is just a really cool thing. A couple of nonprofits were able to get some sites off the ground. And got also a lot of employees that kind of found themselves in a web development role when they were hired as a writer. And that kind of happens a lot. Particularly also in social, people kind of like get hired to do something and then all of a sudden they're given this bigger role, but they don't have any of the background or the education for it. So really what we found with the boot camps was that there were a lot of people that were in charge of WordPress sites that had no idea how to run WordPress websites. No background or education. So that kind of became the niche, as we just started really within the 100 State community and then a little bit outside, just inviting people to come take advantage of a 6-hour on a Saturday boot camp where we kind of tee up, we do a little bit of training, and then the focus was how can we help your project. So we very much want people to bring their own projects. And I kind of joke that this is an accidental company. Really it was just boot camps, just a WordPress boot camp. I do web design. I love what I do. I don't want to give that up. I don't really want to be an event manager professionally, running workshops and trainings every day. Not that would be terrible, it's just not what I want to do. So again, a little bit of an accidental thing. In all honesty, Grow Madison really came to be because I was really too cheap to pay the transaction fees for SplashThat, so I needed a way to sell tickets. So I was like, I'm a web designer, I can put a little website together, sell some tickets. Realized we're going to have to pay people like JJ, and I got a bunch of other really talented people working with me, so I'm going to need an LLC. One thing leads to another, we've got a company. We got 6 people involved, very good at what they do. 2 other web designers, JJ and Candy Phelps, who runs iCandy Graphic and Design, who's great. And the 3 of us are all very much alike in that we're affordable, we're really good, we're efficient, and we do some of the best work in town outside of the agencies. And I'd say we all kind of compete with the agencies too. And so we put on our first boot camp 6 weeks ago or so. We had pretty good sales for our first one. We had a really good turnout, and it was just a great event. So it reaffirmed to me that there's a market for this kind of work. And really what I kind of see it as is an opportunity for people to come learn outside of MATC, outside of university, to be able to get some hands-on stuff with the projects they're working on right now. I know we have a couple of people in here that have been to the boot camps and worked on their own sites, and there's just really nowhere to go to get help with what you're doing, whether you're a small business with a website. And I kind of even see, and this is kind of some of the questions I'd like feedback on, is there a space for programmers even to get feedback and help from senior programmers, essentially? People that have been doing it for 20 years, how can they help the people that are only 5 years in? Maybe they're working for one of your companies, and they're working on projects that they could use a little advice getting pointed in the right direction on. And so far, that seems to be the kind of market that we're going at. In about 2.5 weeks or so, we're going to do a social media boot camp, which is going to be the first one we've done. So it's kind of still a little bit of work in progress. I'm excited for this one because it's kind of like it's almost like a part 2 for the WordPress boot camp. The first one we talked about getting your website ready, getting ready for social, making it so that it's easy to use, it works, it's got good content. And then the next step is the social, where we're going to start sharing it, we're going to start generating content, promoting that content, and so we want to start talking about how we do that. And so we have Greg St. Fort, who is the event manager at 100 State. He's going to be talking about some social media. We have Andrew Foxwell, who runs Foxwell Digital, one of the best Facebook marketers probably in the Midwest. does really high-end Facebook marketing, and we also have Nate Mole, who runs all UW social media at the university. If you guys tuned into anything on social media with UW, it's coming from Nate. It's basically Nate and 2 interns. So he brings a really unique perspective, and he's got a Twitter account with 90,000 people. Facebook, I don't even know how many he's got on Facebook, and he just had a really good run during March Madness. If any followed along with that, he was making national news on almost every tweet that he was doing. So we're lucky to have him. And he brings a little bit different perspective too. He's still kind of in the academia. He's not in business, but he's managing a social media account that rivals anyone in this room. So we can really sort of learn a lot from him in terms of how he does that, the tools that he uses. He's talking about, during a basketball game, his phone is got the we won picture, and his laptop's got the we lost picture, and he's ready to hit whichever one happens. And that's his life. It's all day long. It's a full-time job. So, pardon me while I sweat a little bit. I was joking earlier. It's a physical reaction. I assume you guys are all going to kill me. So my body's doing a fight or flight. It'll go in a minute. So you don't have to be embarrassed for me, because I'm not embarrassed either. So that's about where it is right now. We've talked about adding some programming classes. We've talked about adding some simple classes just in terms of software. How to use Photoshop, how to use Illustrator, to lay out a brochure, for example. And, again, the core being bring your project. We'll have professionals that know how to use the software and teach you and kind of give you some help on your project. That being kind of the weak link, I think, in the education. We've had some conversations about doing some kids programming, possibly in robotics, maybe with some video games. That one's a little tricky because we need computers. I understand here at the library we can maybe do that. I really enjoy teaching. I enjoy empowering people to kind of be able to do things on their own. Being a web developer, I'm often taking over projects that have people that are, have had a website for several years and a website developer that's the only one that can fix it. They're kind of like, can you change the hours on my website? And that just breaks my heart. You should be able to do that yourself. You should be able to change your content on the fly. Put out news, put out a blog on your own, which is part of why I use WordPress. It's easy to use, and so it's very easy to empower people to learn how to use their own website. And when it happens, people just take off and run with it. It can really be a big difference for their business. So that's kind of where Madison's at. Like I said, it's a little bit of an accidental thing. I'm excited about what's possible with it. I'm excited about working with a lot of more small businesses. Obviously, it's a good thing as a web developer and for my career, for JJ's career, to put ourselves out there as professionals, in the field. But we're all also really busy, so it's not really why we're in it. Certainly we'll take more business, but I see it as a big opportunity to serve the people that I actually can't afford to take on right now. I get a ton of requests for, hey, can I get just 10 hours? Can I get 5 hours of your time? Can I get some coaching? Usually they want it for free or for really inexpensive. Maybe there's a project I can't take on because they can't afford it. So I say, hey, for a couple $100, come to a boot camp. We'll put you in here with some professionals. We tee up some training. We kind of do like a 15, 20-minute little training, and then we do a little bit of work with everybody on what they're doing. It's a little bit of organized chaos. It's kind of tricky to do technology training when you have people at various levels of education, which is still something we're kind of working on. It's a very organic process, so a lot of how we're running it now is based on what's in the room. If we have half the people are brand new, have never even logged into WordPress, we're going to start somewhere different than if half people in the room, have already been using it for a long time and are looking for more information. Beyond that, I'm not sure where I want to take it. I know there's a lot of accelerators happen around here, and it's kind of like a secret dream of mine to kind of run an accelerator someday. Mainly because I kind of feel like I do a lot of that stuff already. Full-time business consulting. Unfortunately, once my job is done, and I don't have any stake in those projects that I'm working on. So that would obviously be a really nice thing to kind of angle towards. And having a really talented team of people is something that's a little bit new for me because I've been freelancing for so long. And I got to say, it is really nice having super talented people to work with. You guys can all probably appreciate that. little bit new for me as a freelancer and just one guy. But, you know, we were able to put an entire company together on a weekend, essentially. And, you know, as marketers, we're able to successfully market it. Really nice that we're able to use the space at 100 State. Very low overhead, so the margins are pretty good. The idea is to have the majority of the money that we bring in go straight to the trainers, make it worth their while to give up a Saturday or, you know, or 3 or 4 hours. And I will say, having done a few of these, it's hard work, running around trying to answer questions for 20 different people with 20 different problems. But I think people have found a lot of value in it. So, not sure where it's going to go. I was hoping to kind of bring a specific problem to have you guys kind of help answer. And, you know, I think that the only thing that we're encountering right now is just really how to get in front of more businesses with employees that need more education. For example, I spoke with somebody at Goodwill, and you know, her comment was, you know, I'm in charge of this website. I was hired 2 years ago as a writer, and she really just didn't have any website experience. And there's so many people that are in that position. So, you know, we're trying to reach them directly, but then it's also then they've got to kind of get their companies enrolled in the idea and all that. So right now we're kind of trying to figure out exactly who we're approaching, whether we want to go straight for the businesses and the owners to then send their employees, or if we want to go to the employees to get buy-in. And we've had a little bit of both come to the boot camp so far, but we definitely are looking for ways to find more people and make it more accessible. We also do discounts for nonprofits. We always make sure there's a couple scholarships available. The WordPress boot camps are definitely, we want teens to come. Any tech-savvy teens are welcome to come for free. As a kid, I had a lot of really cool opportunities when I was a teenager, so I definitely want to make sure anybody, really anybody that wants to get in can. And that includes, you know, even if you're an adult or in a nonprofit, you know, we want people to, you know, we have scholarships available, so we want people to be able to just ask. We definitely want to be inclusive across all spectrums here in Madison. So, and our last WordPress bootcamp, we actually had people come from Chicago and Minneapolis, which really also tells me that there's a demand for this kind of learning, because there's nowhere to go there either. You know, so for people that have been trying to solve this problem for 3 days, you know, and anybody that's worked on anything technical knows what it's like to get just sucked into several days of trying to solve one stupid issue. That's kind of what we're also there to do, is save you. You know, in 6 hours, we could probably save somebody in WordPress 2 or 3 weeks of kind of goofing around trying to figure it out on your own. And that's time you can't get back. So that's kind of where it's at. I would really love any feedback from you guys. Questions? Yes.
Do you do, when you do WordPress, do you do the technical end of it also? So for instance, I used to own a business, and we were okay with the front end of things, but when we wanted to change something like that required Ruby on Rails or something like that, that's where we really got into trouble, and even our web developer wasn't so good with that, and so she had to call her specialist, and it just got hairy. Did that?
We do, well, not Ruby, Ruby's a different thing, but yeah, we do a lot of the, you know, we don't teach it so much, but we do solve those problems for people. So if somebody's got one of those issues, we'll figure it out on the spot, and that's really where there's a lot of value too.
Yeah, someone in a dying print industry, you guys are really on with the whole social and rest of it. Just the basics on how much does it cost, or is that depending on what you're working on, and if there, I don't know if there's any kind of revenue model you're really.
Yeah, you know, I don't see this as, you know, making much money, at least personally, not immediately. I do want to make it worth everybody's while that's there to work, to give up a Saturday. So for the WordPress boot camps, we actually started the first couple we did for free for 100 state members, and we did $95 for non-members. There was only a few non-members that signed up, so it was not much in the first few. And part of the problem with having them for free, particularly for 100 state members, is we'd get like 6 or 7 that didn't RSVP, so we'd kind of be understaffed. So actually charging more now has actually solved a lot of those problems. So now we're doing the WordPress boot camps for $195 for 6 hours of WordPress training, which is an amazing deal. You're not going to find a better deal anyway. And then we give a $50 discount for nonprofits. We give a discount for 100 state because they're so awesome about letting us use the space. And we'll probably get into some sponsors and things eventually. Right now, still kind of getting off the ground. The social media boot camp, we've already had to pivot on a couple of times. We started it as a digital marketing boot camp, which is a little more meta than social media, but is also a term that has kind of died out a little bit in the last few years. Digital marketing was really popular like 5 years ago. Now it's social marketing. And we also were kind of trying to target more marketing professionals originally. So we started with a $495 digital marketing boot camp targeting full-time marketing professionals like ourselves. And I think we realized pretty quickly that was a trickier market to get into, so we wanted to kind of shift it down. We brought the price down to $295, same discounts available, and are now really targeting more of the same kind of folks that came to our WordPress boot camps, people that are running their own businesses, they're in a nonprofit, they found themselves running social media and they just don't know what they're doing, or they've been doing a pretty good job of it and they just want to know what other people are doing. Seeing me doing this versus seeing other people do this, seeing Greg St. Fort, the way he runs the events at 100 State, it's absolutely phenomenal. And he can't do it without a lot of the tools and the support that he has. So I think that's really valuable information. So we're still shifting a lot of the pricing and numbers and things. If anybody has feedback on any of that, I'd love to hear it. I don't really know what, I don't know what a full day of social media boot camp is worth to people. And I will say those aren't going as quickly as the WordPress ones. So I'm not sure if there's and maybe you guys had feedback about this. My thought is, having been through the learning process of learning WordPress, I know it's hard. I know anybody that's going to, hey, I'm going to start learning WordPress, they're going to get stuck, and they're going to go, oh, I wish there was a place I could go. I'm not sure social media is the same thing. And I guess I'd love feedback from you guys on...
side, we're sort of all in-house on that. Anything I know or learned about social media, I've learned from other people who are there. I think you could go into a company and just bring your thing in for a half day.
Yeah.
And I think that would probably appeal to owners as much as sending people out on Saturday.
And that's something that we talked about too. We've actually had a couple invitations to go out of state to bring it to some companies. We haven't really pitched it that way. We are going to add some kind of how to hire us. One is consultants and trainers. You can get any of us. We'll one-on-one with you for $100 an hour, and it's the same process. I think that the boot camps will be different because you're hearing from more people. You're also hearing from the other boot campers. So just sitting next to the right person can completely change your project. Sitting next to the wrong person can too, unfortunately. Kind of working on how to figure that out. But yeah, I think that's a good point. And hopefully, I guess part of what it is, I guess I feel like people already feel like they know how to use social media, so they don't feel like they need that extra bit of education. They don't get stuck on a specific problem like in WordPress, where it takes them 6 hours to figure out one problem. So I guess I'm wondering if there's a way we can pivot it a little bit so that it's more obvious on the amount of time and the impact that we'll have. Obviously, once we've done a few and we've got some testimonials, that can change too.
Institutional partnerships, like reaching out to UW or even local high schools or Madison College?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really thought that like having something credited, even for like a half a credit with UW, would be really big. That gets into some academia, though. With credited courses, you got to get into a lot of different aspects of the of the topic, rather than just kind of the hands-on stuff. For University of Wisconsin particularly, is going to want some cultural stuff, some historical stuff. They've got all the different things that are required for credited stuff. But MATC might be too. I don't see any of them teaching stuff at the same model. It's typically a professor that's maybe not even doing this stuff full-time anyway, teaching theory, kind of the meta stuff, rather than digging in hands-on, really helping with your projects. It's almost like a study hall for adults in some ways.
So I'm kind of going off of that idea. As a summer recent graduate, and my friends who have kind of gone on to work for different companies, we've been in that spot where we've, started working for a company and all of a sudden they're like, hey, I need you to take over this part. And we're like, okay. College can only teach you so much. And I feel like if you did, have you ever thought about doing like a general workshop that was maybe, a few weeks or, 3 different sessions and whatnot for recent graduates, so that when they go to these companies, they can say, hey, you might need me to go into all these different areas, and I can say I have experience in WordPress, I have experience with social media, I went to these workshops. That's going to give me, one up on the other applicants. And nowadays it's so hard for recent grads to find a legitimate job and to have that much experience. Because like I said, you can only learn so much in college. A lot of it is hands-on experience.
Yep.
And I think, my friends and I, we've even talked about how it would be great to have something like this, and how, now being in the real world, it would have been great to have something that we could have gone to.
Yeah.
And I think the price is definitely right. Recent graduates, obviously, we don't have as much money to spend, but if it can give us enough experience to be able to go into companies and feel confident in our skills and what we've learned, I think it's totally worth it. So
awesome.
I think reaching out to those recent grads would be an awesome idea. I know a lot of people already that would be really interested in doing it.
Thank you. All right.
What's your competition for that, though?
Um,
Are there other online
Yeah,
sites
so
that people can just go to and do on their own schedule?
Yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton of places to go to learn stuff online. YouTube is free, lynda.com, and it costs money, which is how I taught myself, is just going online and figuring out and learning it, which I think anybody that's been through that process realize, I can't think of how many years of stuff I could have saved if I had somebody like me to kind of help me along the way. Even just teaming me up originally, it took me maybe 6 months to choose WordPress as a platform that I wanted to take the time to learn as a developer and actually put the time into to specialize in. I was like, well, Joomla, Drupal, maybe this was 5-6 years ago when WordPress wasn't as popular. Fortunately, I picked the right one. WordPress is 23.5% of the entire internet, so it's huge. Everybody can use it. So the online stuff, the live ones are good because you can ask questions live, but it's really hard to get your questions answered for your particular problem. And one of the things we talk about in the boot camps is how hard it is to figure out your question. Because usually when you're learning new technology, you don't even know what the question is. So you're Googling the wrong stuff for an hour before you start to dial in on the right kind of terminology that you need to actually search for. Interestingly, I have no real desire to make this an online thing. I really like working with people in person. And, even though everybody's going online, I feel like there's all of a sudden a little bit of a need for the actual hands-on. I need real help. So.
Well, in the passive way, either. Sometimes if they're told or shown versus just listening to it through the internet, somehow sinks in better. We don't all.
Yeah, everybody learns. Some people are more visual.
Learn in the same way.
Yeah.
So I think the more collaborative, sitting in a room with somebody is more effective.
Yeah. And I think having different trainers will help too. It's mostly been me kind of leading the WordPress boot camps, but we're starting to change that a little bit, get more input from other trainers. So.
Social media question again.
Please.
It's an interesting question. I think in my previous experience working with clients in social media, I think maybe if you're going to go internal to an organization that's not necessarily that savvy, maybe the pitch is the common, I think, complaint is that I don't see the results from that. What are the results? And so maybe what we always try to talk about is talking about the power of amplifying it when they're all connected.
Yeah.
Because they treat them as silos. I've got to do this task for Twitter, and I've got to do this task for Facebook, and I've got to do this.
Yeah.
And yes, there's suites out there that can, like Hootsuite and things, that they can tie all those things together to help you manage that and push. But I think maybe an idea for social media, if you're going to continue to try to pursue that, is to help companies understand how to link and amplify that when they're working together as a total strategy.
Yep.
Because it's hard to put your arms around all of that, especially with a consistent voice.
Yeah.
And you can definitely help them. So I agree that it's probably more intuitive to use them as tools because we're all probably users, independently, and so you apply what you know as an independent user.
Sure.
But I think for an organization, I think it's really hard for them to harness that, and then for them to come back and say, well, how is that, because they have to report up, how is that getting results for me? And maybe you can help them navigate some of that.
So do you think that kind of having it geared towards one core training and set of concepts for everybody would help? As opposed to people just acting like silos, and you have your person that's going to manage Twitter, and you have your person manage Facebook, and they're kind of not really lined up.
Yeah, it was always better if you have a team of people, or or, someone who's helping dictate all of it together.
Yeah.
Someone who owns it. I think
Yeah.
anything you work on, if one person helps to at least own it ultimately, that's helpful. And it's ultimately going to be somebody's responsibility within an organization, right? Whether they can dictate out to interns or other team members, or so that might be a good strategy. But I think what's most challenging for organizations is that they struggle to see why am I investing in that if I can't see results? Maybe they need to be educated on what does results really look like for social media versus other marketing tactics that they use.
Having been a small business owner my entire life, I'm very cognizant of the need to create leads. If I'm going to put any money into it, I need the business to come in. I don't have a budget. It's my money. I don't have a company giving me money to go advertise. I've got to spend my own money. So I'm really cheap with my clients' money. I'll just say that right now. I'm cheap with my clients' money. They have to actually kind of kick me and say, hey, go spend this $2,000. So I'll say, we can do it for $500. But return on investment is huge, and it's a very important topic in social media right now. My marketing philosophy my entire life has been start small, market test. Once it works, scale it up. Fortunately with something like these, we have good margins, so we're able to do some advertising. We're actually able to do a lot of advertising for these because we have good margins. At a $200 ticket, we'll spend $50 to get it if we need to. So we definitely want to, talk about that in the social media boot camps, because we do talk about not just organic social, but we talk about paid social. We're talking about how to run super effective Facebook ads, how to set your website up so that anybody that actually comes to your site gets tracked by Facebook, and then we can remarket directly to them again. And then we can exclude our existing customers. So we're not, we get really, it's actually a lot of fun how far down the rabbit hole that we go. But I like that feedback, and I think that's important. So think about that. Thank you. Amy.
So two thoughts. One, building on that, the idea of the social media workshop. I was thinking, and maybe you already do this, but I think it would be great to have like this outcome. Okay, come to this workshop, and you're going to leave with your next month's social media campaign, the entire month scheduled.
I like that idea.
And so then it's like, that's worth $300 alone.
Yeah, why wouldn't it go?
Yeah, right. And just have like this really concrete outcome might be, because I think sometimes social media it's like, I can figure it out. It's all kind of. But really, the value of your workshop is the nuance. Anyone can figure out how to use Facebook or Twitter in 5 minutes, but it's the nuance.
5 people kind of helping you frame your terminology and your copy and all that is helpful.
So that's the second thing. So I've been in the boot camp, the WordPress boot camp, and I feel like what would be really valuable for someone like me. So I went in already kind of knowing how to use WordPress, but thought, okay, well, let me see what extra things I can learn. And you're right. Like you get stuck with this problem, and then it just can like stall everything. And so if there's some way to have like drop-in sessions or like tutoring or something where I know if I go and I sit in a 6-hour workshop, given the experience I have, which is limited, but it's not total beginner, maybe I'll get a half an hour out of it. And really, that's what I need is that half an hour of someone I can call because I don't always know what to look up.
So you think maybe some shorter workshops would be good?
Or not even a workshop, like have like a 2-hour, like, hey, we're going to be here for 2 hours. We have 3 people, and come drop in. You get a half an hour slot. It costs $50 or whatever it is. And so it really is like one-on-one. And I can have my list of questions. Like, okay, Matt, here we go. Just go down.
And that might be something because we're going to do like how to hire us, and you can book some time with us, that kind of thing personally. So that might be one idea for that.
If your issue can wait until that point, it's more of like an call thing, right? Right. It's like right now I'm stuck with this. I need help. Hey, I'll pay you $50 just to give me 15 minutes and get me through this issue. I'll call you right now.
Availability is tough for that. That's I can't. I've got several requests for one-on-one time, and I'm 2 weeks out at this point.
As a program, I'm been on Stack Overflow and all the other resources trying to hammer through it. I can't wait till that week from now or 2 weeks from now to figure out that issue.
I think both would be valuable.
And we are talking already about breaking up the social one into its individual components. Because not everybody wants to learn Instagram or Twitter, but they really want some high-end Facebook training. So we might just do like a 2-3 hour just Facebook, digging in how to do the remarketing, how to do custom audiences, and how to do really the high-level stuff that's really effective on Facebook, and then do the same with Twitter, the same with Instagram, kind of breaking them up into smaller things. So.
The thing about taking like Saturday, breaking it like 4 or 5 2-hour slots, like starting with a WordPress basic, and then after that maybe do a social media, and then maybe do like a mobile response, and maybe do a intermediate WordPress, and you can design it so people could do all 4 sessions like a full day boot camp, or they only want to go to like, I already have, let's say I have enough basic knowledge of WordPress, but I want to learn some extra stuff, or I just want to learn more about, we said like just Facebook thing, and then you can make it easy for you lining up your whole Saturday, that just be boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that's the feedback that we had our first try on the social thing, was it was too expensive. People didn't want all of it. They only wanted parts. Kind of, so a la carte is definitely something we're strongly considering and kind of moving forward on. JJ's going to do a workshop on how to speed up WordPress, for example. We might have do like independent SEO, search engine optimization, which is what I do. But also, I will say that even when you think you know a lot about it, there's stuff that we cover that is actually kind of useful. And also just hearing what other people are doing it, it's amazing to see how some businesses are using WordPress and social media in ways that I've never seen before. So, but that's good feedback. So, thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Take it. I guess, so my question in all this is, what is your motivation? Because I guess my question here is, if there's 6 of you doing this, is your motivation to raise your guys' brand as consultants? Is it that you just want to give back to the community? Because it seems to me right now where you're at, it's going to be very hard for you guys to make money. Because the problem is, if you're doing it on Saturdays, and the people you're kind of aiming at are more people who are doing it as their own thing as opposed to a company, which means you have to kind of charge less. And the other problem is that as long as you're more broad and it's very beginner, you're going to have a hard time charging more money for it, as opposed to if you're saying, no, your case of, no, we're specifically doing this for a very targeted market, and we do it during the week, during business hours. Those people, you may have a easier time filling those classes and charging more. As long as you're kind of a weekend warrior kind of thing, your classes are going to get so huge for you guys to pay yourselves to make money to actually do this. So I guess that's my question is, if you guys are trying to do this as kind of a give back, raise our brand, raise our awareness, bring us more Amy's who go, oh, well, I do want to contract with you during the week for my half-hour problem and pay you $200 an hour for that time, awesome. So I guess that's the only thing is like sitting down and really doing those numbers to figure out like where you guys are spending. If it's just to get out there and do that and help everybody better WordPress programmers, awesome. But if you're trying to actually take the 6 of you and make this a full-time job, you got a lot of number grinding.
I don't anticipate this being a full-time job for any of us. Although for potentially somebody to organize it, it could be a full-time job. I would love to see more consultants and just give them opportunities to get in front of more people. I think that my initial motivation is just to get back to the community. I'll say second on our last one, we each took home, under $500, but under $500 for a Saturday, which is nothing to shake a stick at. That's pretty good for our first full-paid training. With a little bit more for the social, we got more people involved, obviously. So we'll see. And like I said, it's kind of an accidental business. I really like empowering people, like I said. So that is my initial come from. How it comes, what comes to fruition later, can we come, we get the team together and come to a $5,000, workshop for a business? Absolutely, and that is a definite potential revenue stream that also doesn't look like a full-time thing. Good advice. Hey, great advice. Great advice. There was actually a guy that just set a date for a digital marketing boot camp last week at 100 State.